What is happening, guys? Chris from NGG here, and today I am bringing you another Brazil Regionals deck list. This is Philip Reyes's ZoroPod list. He was the only non-shrine oriented build to make it into the top 8 of the entire weekend, so that is just ridiculous in itself. He obviously lost in the end to a shrine deck, which is unfortunate, but it just goes to show how much a Stranglehold Shrine had on that weekend. Don't know how much it's going to be this coming weekend. I know there's another event, but let's cover this deck, basically talk about why it did so well compared to maybe other Zoroark lists, and maybe what you could do to change it going forward. To start off, he is playing one copy of the Ultra Prism Orangaru, and some people are saying that this isn't needed anymore because it can't bring back puzzles or stuff like that. But the win condition for ZoroPod, is still and will always be resource management. Basically creating a resource divide between you and your opponents and winning off from there. So that's why resource management Orangari is still really important in the deck. We're obviously playing the 4 copies of Zuria and Zoroark. Still a busted card, been relevant ever since it came out. Discard 1, draw 2, DCA for a max of 120, 150 with a choice band. Trickster GX is really cool if you have access to it. Unfortunately, in this deck, we do not. Then he is playing one Dedenne. This is your Rayquaza out. For a DCA, it will do 30 plus 30 more if you have a electric on your bench. So that is a base of 60. 30 more with choice band is 90. Times 2 for weakness is 180, which is a clean knockout on a Rayquaza, which can give this deck a bit of a hard time. The electric of choice is of course Tapu Koko, your Guzma pivot. They allow you to chain first impressions a lot more effectively than you would without it. So this is just a really good 2-card combo for outing Rayquaza. He has elected to play the 1 Slugma and 1 Macargo, a card that has not really gained favour with Zoroark players because it is another stage 1 line that you have to play. The choice of prioritising this during setup can be a bit difficult, but there is no denying the synergy that Smooth Over and Trade have together. Search 1 card from your deck basically each per turn and draw an extra card. Really good. It obviously worked out really well for him in this deck. Searching cards like Guzma, like Acerola, problem solving cards and combo pieces. Macargo definitely in theory is fantastic, so that's why he elected to play it. And of course 3 Wimpod to try and wimp out turn 1 into a Koko to get your plays going. And 1 Galizapod. First impression for 120 if he became the active this turn. Armor Press is still a fantastic attack, really messes with some mobs against opponents. And of course he got GX for 150 and Glisopod gets the hell out of there onto the bench. Really solid card. And for the last Pokemon, he is playing 2 copies of Tapu Lele GX. Basically to search your starter cards off and maybe your combo extenders like Guzma later in the game. Moving on to the items, he is playing 1 Counter Catcher, just a really good disruption card that is searchable off Macargo and Trade, but it does not mean you're committed to your supporter that turn, which is just allows you that freedom to combo off on your opponent and maybe establish a really solid board state. 1 Max Potion, we all know how good this card is in ZoroPod lists. Means you can Guzma and recover in the same turn, which is just invaluable because there is sometimes where you're stuck where you don't know if you should Acerola to deny the prizes or go on the offensive and Guzma up something to take the prizes. So having Max Potion in the list allows you to do both in the same turn, which is really important. He elected to play only 3 Nest Ball, which is a lower count by average standards, because most lists are playing 4 just because you want to see as many of this card turn 1 to plant down Wimpods and Zoruas and in his case Slugma, so you can combo off next turn and really get yourself going. But I guess maybe if I didn't want to lose the Trash Challenge too much, because that is a very relevant card at the minute, especially after this weekend with Buzzgarb just dominating. So I don't know, maybe that's why he was. I'll leave his original post on Hayfont in the description on Facebook so you can check it out yourself. Maybe ask him some questions if you're in Hayfont. One pal pad. Seeing as you don't have puzzles, you really need ways to bring back your supporters like Acerola and Guzma, and this is just a really good card, especially when you have the Macargo chilling on your bench that you can basically search that same, or one of those same supporters that you put back in, search it out again and continue on. So Palpad is definitely a really solid card in the deck. One Rescue Stretcher as your Pokemon recovery, because as I say, Puzzle of Time is gone, so adding back Tapu Lele's to search your supporters late game, or just basically recycling Zoroarks that have been targeted down. Rescue Stretcher is just a really solid card. Both effects are fantastic. One switch, same as Max Potion, allows you to make first impression live without committing to the supporter, or you can sort of combo Guzma and switch together to make a Lysander in case you don't want to basically switch your active. So Switch is just a really solid card. It gives the deck a lot of options. 2 Timer Ball, a really solid card again. Evo Soda's gone, so this can search your Gallisapod and Zoroark's turn 2. Sometimes you might get Tails, but on the flip side, no pun intended, you can also search yourself 2 Zoroarks. So Timer Ball is just a really solid card, and if you elect to play it, it is searchable off Apricorn Maker. And lastly, for the items, he is playing 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Nothing to say here. Discard 2, search any Pokemon in your deck. For the Stadium of Choice, he is playing Devoured Field. Basically, this allows his Zoroarks to one-shot stuff like Baby Buzz, or comboed with Choice Band and Professor Kukui. Zoroarks are taking clean knockouts on the Rayquaza GXs or Tapu Bullies if you are unfortunate enough to play against that. So Devoured Field is just another really solid combo piece. So playing 2 of it makes sense because you don't want to prize it, I guess, and seeing it without having to search it is just really good. And then he is playing for the supporters 2 Acerola, 3's too many, 1's too little, even with Palpad. This just keeps your Gallisapod train going. Acerola, solid card. His starter card of choice is Apricorn Maker. Some people don't play this at all, or play this in combination with Lily just to give you that flexibility when you open Ultra Ball. If you want to draw more cards and say you don't have a draw supporter for next turn, you can Lily hopefully draw into all those nest balls in your draw supporter, but I guess he's just going with the guaranteed nest balls to place down as many basics as he possibly can. So Apricorn Maker is a solid card in that respect. And 3 Cynthia, because it's the best draw supporter right now, and it is your quote-unquote ideal supporter. Turn 2, of course, Apricorn Maker is not bad either. It just gives you a lot of options and allows you to out the Marshadow soft lock that is going around in Rayquaza, i.e. when they go first, they can let loose onto you, put your hand size down to 4, and it becomes really hard for you to establish the board out of that. So Cynthia just gives you more outs to that, especially when you're playing 4 Ultra Ball to search the lady to search this. So it just gives you a lot of outs to that, so Cynthia is a really solid card. And of course, max copies of Guzma. Just allows you to go on the aggressive and allows you to chain first impressions every turn, which you're looking to do. So max copies of Guzma is 100% correct. Card's fantastic. And lastly, next supporter is Judge. This is a really solid card, especially in the Zoroark Mirror. This is your turn 2 supporter if possible, i.e. you set up all your basics, hopefully find maybe a Zoroark or 2, judge your opponents if you went first, because it means they're less likely to see their Zoroarks, etc. on the next turn, and allows you to combo off. But obviously against Tempest GXs, Algorithms, Magical Ribbon, Judge is just a fantastically powerful card, so that is why it is played. And just like Devoured Field, he's playing Kukui at 2 just to make sure he doesn't need to draw it when the sort of combo comes up. And obviously draw 2 cards isn't bad either, but he's mostly playing it for the additional 20 damage. And lastly, for the trainers, he is playing 3 copies of Choice Bands. Get that first impression up to 150, or as I say, you can combo it with Kukui to take knockouts on Lele with first impression, or add on the Fire field, and your Zoroarks are doing 180. Choice Band's just a really solid card. And then lastly, for his Pokemon, the average line of, the energy line, the average line of 4 DCE and 3 grass. This makes complete sense. You don't really want more than 3 copies of grass, because you're hopefully recycling your energies with Acerola, so you don't really want any more copies. One thing I forgot to mention, Devour Plains is a really solid out to Shrine of Punishment, which, as I've said before, had a complete stranglehold on the event this weekend. So it's just a really solid card to have as an option. So I'll talk about basically why Zoroark didn't do too well this format, maybe why ZoroPod isn't the best list for going forward. Zoroark basically lost out to the just mass amount of Buzzgarb there was. Buzzwole plus Shrine is basically how Baby Buzzwole was before the Zoroark, and just a lot of those damage modifiers and allows it to hit mobs and hit KOs. Garb also really hurts this deck because of the mass amount of items and commitment to ball searches you have. So I guess that's just a really bad matchup, and I don't think the Golisopod makes that better. However, the card that does make those matchups better is Garbodor. So I believe if you want to play your boy Zoroark from now on, I think Garbodor is the way to go, because Garbodor really hurts Shrine decks, because they play such a mass amount of items like Acrobike, Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Mysterious Treasure, all that good stuff. So yeah, but thankfully with Golisopod's already playing 2 copies of Acerola, which I think is pretty standard now. But he was also playing the 1 copy of Max Motion, which I do believe is why he did at least make top 8, because he had that many outs to the Shrine of Punishment, allowed him to play around it, which was really good. But unfortunately, first impression is not killing Buzzwoles, it is not killing Shining Lugias, which was relevant this format. So I don't believe it is the best partner for Zoroark going forward. But congratulations to him nonetheless. He did a terrific job being the only non-Shrine deck in Top Cut. So yeah guys, let me know what you think of this deck. Please comment, rate, subscribe. I'll check this out later. This is Chris from NCG, signing